I keep my goals to myself, cause whenever I share with folks, they get a look upon their face and their memory floats to a time where their goals and the stars ain't...
What's good? Let's get into NXT from June the 23rd, 2026. This was a okay episode of NXT. Not really the strongest. The women held it down. The men, not so much. But it is what it is. It happens. However, I did like the Saquon Sugars and Deion Lennox face-to-face. I like that. That was pretty good. The matches on the show didn't really too much care about, really. They were kind of weak. And we are going to get into predictions for the Great American Bash this Sunday. So, we kicked the show off with Tony D'Angelo. He's talking to Robert Stone in the back. D'Angelo's looking for Naraku. Mr. Stone says that Naraku is not here yet. Tonight's a double contract signing for the Great American Bash. And Tony D'Angelo needs to stay in line. Robert Stone wants everything to run smooth because they're putting on their first ever pay-per-view on the CW this Sunday. Tony D'Angelo wants his contract signed until by the end of the night. So Aaron Roki, he shows up. So D'Angelo says he's been hearing a lot of good things about him. He's been busting his ass in Evolve, and he represents the title very well. And he wishes him good luck in his title defense. And Aaron says the same thing to Tony D'Angelo, and he tells him thank you. And so, there's that. All right, moving on. This is fun. Let's lead us into the first match of the night. Aaron Rookie defeats Christian Angels to retain the Evolve Championship. Okay, it is what it is. In the middle of the match, Shiloh Hill did his little laugh. It was on the Titantron or whatever. That distracted Christian Angels, and then it allowed for Aaron to hit the Molly go around for the 1, 2, 3. There's that. Who really cares? I honestly thought they were going to put the title on Tristan. They should have, but I don't know. I'm guessing because it's Pride Month is why he's still champion. Well, probably not, but I guess they want to keep, Tristan kind of NXT proper, basically. Not proper, but exclusively for NXT. Because most of these guys, they kind of jump back and forth between Evolve and NXT. So I guess they want Tristan to kind of just be strictly for NXT. So maybe in due time, he'll end up winning the championship, hopefully. So there's that. Moving on, this leads us into Tony D'Angelo and Robert Stone. So they found Naraku in the parking lot. Naraku thanks Tony D'Angelo for his patience. Robert Stone says he'll take the contract. Naraku wants to get the contract to Tony D'Angelo himself. Naraku says, and hinting that he's going to be the new NXT champion. Tony D'Angelo says, my ass, pause. And Robert Stone yells at Naraku for always causing problems. And then Tony D'Angelo gets struck by a fireball, opening the contract. And then Naraku starts to laugh very maniacally, which is fun. So that's cool. So this reminds me of Aleister Black and Damian Priest months ago. I think that was back in January when they had their feud when Aleister was still with the company. So there's that. That's fine. This makes sense. Kind of cool. So, really cool. All right, moving on from that. Tony D'Angelo, he gets rushed into an ambulance, and he's heading to the hospital. And then Tony D'Angelo tells Robert Stone he's going to kill Naraku at the Great American Bash. Okay, that's fine. Cool. Good shit there. Moving on. This leads us into Saquon Sugars and Deion Lennox. They had a face-off. So Deion Lennox, he had some words, and he said he's already decided how the Great American Bash is going to go. So Saquon Sugar tells him to relax. Nobody's here to box with him right now. He said 35 days ago, Dark sent him flying and crashing through that announce table. He felt his spine shoot up his nose. And he knows that he can't be lacking Dark State again. He's not going to move scared. He's going to move smart. That's why he took out the rest of the Dark State first. He said he doesn't act off of anger. And he made sure that it was just him and the head of the snake in the middle of this ring. He said he can't fade. He heard what he said, what y'all said. He said the whole time that NXT was up for Saquon Sugars to be put into positions that you were given. So what you call me? I'm an indie wrestler. Okay, maybe you're right. Emphasis on wrestler. That's what you're supposed to do. You're just another pretender trying to take a spot. So Deion Lennox he retorts by saying, "Now you lying. You call me the leader. So let's call it how it is. You put Saquon Sugars next to Deion Lennox. Who screams superstar? It ain't you." He was put in these high profile positions because he got lucky. He was put there because it's how it's supposed to be. And clearly the rest of Dark State, they knew that. Dark State was never supposed to have Saquon Sugars in it. We brought him in, and we thought, and we got what we needed. And on Sunday, when we move on, we're going to leave you in the past. So Saquon Sugars, he retorts by saying that none of the members of the Dark State could lace his boots and wipe his ass. Pause. He said you can't lace his boots. His wrist tape will burn your hands. And if you tried on his jock strap, it'd be a baggy fit. I'm like, what the hell? Come on, bruh. That's, whoa. He's going to prove to Deion and the world that he's up next. And you're up never. And it don't get no sweeter than that. So Deion retorts by saying that everything that the crowd loves about Saquon is fake. But he's putting on a facade. You forget, we know you. We know the insecurities, the overthinking, always worrying about the wrong things. These people never saw that because we allowed them. Because we showed them what they wanted to see. They never knew that we didn't count on you. And when those moments before go time, you would disappear, making us wonder if you were going to be there for us or not. They didn't know that you could count on me for reassurance because you can't do anything on your own without second guessing. Damn. He said, you're a distraction that we spent more time babysitting than chasing our own goals. So dropping you was no mistake. It was a correction. And he continues on by saying, you're your own worst enemy. You're still the same self-conscious, goofy you've always been. At the Great American Bash, there's going to come a moment where you're going to hesitate, and that's where he's going to get exposed. Your name's already signed on the dotted line of your death warrant, and on Sunday, he's going to stamp it. I'm like, damn, that was nasty right there. That was a great promo right there at the end. That was great. I love that. So I like this. This is pretty good. It didn't last too long. It was about a good 5 to 7 minutes long, which is fine. It is what it is. This is really good. Both boys came with that fire. Both guys came with that fire. So I like that. Add a war word. So that's pretty good. Pretty good here. This shouldn't be a long ongoing feud. This thing should go maybe with Deion Lennox winning. So there should be like a little mini feud, and that's it. Moving on, Hank and Tank, they're chatting backstage with comedian Matt Matthews. So, whatever. And then the Vanity Project, they show up. So, alright, that's fine. Moving on, Miles Bourne and Tavion Heights, they had a war of words, basically. Miles Bourne said that he fears comfort. He spent his whole life being uncomfortable. He talked about his time in the NQCC and everything. So, Tavion Heights said that he's never been afraid to be himself. And for a long time, he rubbed people the wrong way. So he walked alone. When he came into the NQCC, he started tagging with Miles. He found a brother for life. Miles didn't outgrow our friendship. He just forgot about it. Damn. And then he starts to complain as to, Miles started to change once he got the championship and everything else. He says, at the Great American Bash, he's going to be selfish. He's not thinking about the NQCC. He's not thinking about Miles. He's thinking about proving exactly who he says he is when he leaves the Great American Bash as the new NXT North American champion. And Miles Bourne says, at the Great American Bash, I'm walking in as your former partner, but I'm walking out as proof that I made the right choice when I'm still still the North American champion. Okay, that's fine. Pretty cool stuff there. So, Tavion Heights is talking to Ren Sinclair in front of a monitor. Ren says that sometimes the best way to preserve a friendship is just take yourself out for a little bit. Tavion says that's really easy for Ren because she's got a title. Miles has a title. Charles Dempsey has birthright, and Tavion's got nothing for him. Ren says that Tavion has anger issues and a chip on his shoulder. So Kendal Grey, she appears. Kendal, she asks Ren who she thinks is going to win the finals of the speed tournament. On one hand, Ren calls Izzy Dame a mean cult leader who looks like she skins Muffets for fun, which is funny. And on the other hand, we got a spoiled brat and Ariana Grace with a pack of rats and that traitor, Charlie Dempsey. Ren doesn't care who wins. She's just glad to be medically cleared to compete. Kendal realizes the idea of both of them walking out of the bash as champions. Celebrating with a 2-layered cake. Kendal tells Ren that she'll see her later because she's got to get ready for the contract signing. Okay, that's fine. Cool. Good stuff there. Moving on. Hank and Tank and Matt Matthews, they defeat Birthright, Stax, and Uriah Connors. I don't give a shit about this. Who cares? Moving on from this shit. This leads us into Shiloh Hill. He was interviewed by Sarah Schreiber. He didn't really say much of anything. He's not worried about what happened earlier on. He said it's not over between him and Tristan. He's gonna basically get his revenge, and he's gonna make Tristan regret what he did at the Great American Bash, and he's gonna show him why no one sleeps on Shiloh Hill. And then Shiloh Hill does his maniac laugh, and then that was it. Okay, that's fine, whatever. I don't give a shit about this. Moving on, this leads us into Kendal Grey and Lola Vice. So Kendal Grey and Lola Vice, they have a little war of words, basically. So Lola knows that Kendall's just trying to get her lick back. Kendall's like, no, she's trying to redeem herself from what happened in New York. Lola says, forget about New York. She said that your redemption story will not be at her expense, and you have a long way to go. She came here, she had to humble herself. She had all the hype in the world, and she started from scratch again in order to one day earn this championship. So Kendal says, and you coming here was a big deal. And when I saw you do it, I thought maybe I can too. And now we're both here, being the two biggest crossover athletes that WWE has. Lola says that she doesn't take that for granted. This is the first time there's two crossover female fighters at the top of NXT. Shayna was dominant, but no one could figure out her style. That's the thing. I figured you out. You crumble under pressure, and on Sunday, I'll show you why I'm number one and you're number two. Damn. I like that. So Kendal puts over Lola, saying that she's a superstar, a breakout tournament winner, queen of the underground, double champion. But when she came to WWE, she was an undefeated amateur wrestler. And when the lights shine the brightest here, one thing is for sure: she failed. So Lola Vice says she understands that and everything. Lola says that she's now the leader of this division. She needs to win. She says she plans on raising the title even more. No, she's talking about Lola Vice. My bad. That's kind of great to talk about Lola Vice and everything else. So as Kendal then signs the contract, Lola says she understands the inspiration that Kendal feels, the desire to change the guard that she did for her. But she knows that this NXT Women's Champion, she knows what this win means. She knows what it means to win this NXT Women's Championship. She says you'll have your success, but not while she's champion. And at the Great American Bash, she answers all those questions. She'll beat her, and she'll retain. And you'll learn what it means to humble yourself, put your head down the same way she had to do so many times. And at some point, Kendal Grey, she'll push this NXT Women's division further, but it'll be when Lola Vice is done, and I'm not done yet. Damn, I like that. That was solid right there. And then Lola signs the contract. Good shit. I like that. Very good shit there. Excellent. Great stuff. I'm looking forward to this. Moving on, EK Prosper defeats Keanu Carver. He rolls him up towards the end of the match, basically. This match went on a little bit too long for my liking. It was kind of like we were watching Javon Evans versus Obafemi, basically. There was a nasty German suplex in this match by Keanu Carver. It was nasty. He did a devastating clothesline, or a.k.a. lariat. That was nasty. And then somehow EK rolled up Keanu Carver. So post-match, this pissed off Keanu Carver. He ended up powerbombing EK through a table. So that's fine. So I like that. Good stuff there. Good shit there. Love it. I like what they're doing with Keanu Carver, but I don't know why he had to lose here. It's kind of weird, though, but it is what it is. Moving on, Zaria, she's backstage. She cut a promo. She said, Tatum Paxley a year ago, we're both here standing in other people's shadows talking about Sol Ruka and Izzy Dame, watching them fight over this very championship. Now look at us. We broke free, we stood on our own, and we were able to call ourselves champion. Which so happens that her reign began at the expense of Tatum's. But of course, Tatum Paxley fashion, you couldn't let things go. You, like everyone else, can't let her enjoy her success. Last week, you cost her match and embarrassed her in her first match as champion. Tatum, I don't care if you get attached to people or objects. You're addicted to pain, so I'm going to take a page out of your own book. I'm going to give you your rematch at the Great American Bash so I can beat you again, and then you can revel in that pain forever. Damn, good stuff there. I like that. Good shit. Moving on. Robert Stone's basically yelling at Naraku for what he did to Tony D'Angelo earlier on. So Naraku begins to laugh and walks away. So Keanu Carver comes in. He gets scolded by Robert Stone about what he did to EK Prosper. So Keanu says he's running through everybody until he gets a shot at the NXT Championship. EK Prosper was the first, and he sure won't be the last. Okay, that's fine. Moving on, Ariana Grace defeats Izzy Dame. She now advances to the... it's now going to be her versus Ren Sinclair at the Bash. Okay, cool. So that's fine there. Whatever. Moving on, this leads us into Robert Stone. He's talking to Sarah Schreiber. Tells her that he got the phone with Rey Mysterio. And he said some luchadors are going to be coming to the Great American Bash. That's great. That's fun there. As far as the NXT championship match is concerned, by the end of the night, Robert Stone will announce who Naraku's opponent is. So Jackson Drake barges in the office along with the Vanity Project. So Jackson wanted to finish the conversation that they were having earlier. And basically, Robert Stone just sent everybody away. He wasn't in the mood. So, there's that. All right, moving on. Carmen Petrovich and Nikita Lyons, they're in the back watching Natty capture another Guinness World Record for the most submission victories. So Carmen Petrovich and Nikita Lyons start poking fun at Jada Parker. Nikita Lyons asks Jada, how's soul searching going? So Petrovich calls Jada Parker soft, and then they continue to bully Miss Parker. So Lyons was excited to see Petrovich and AAA. So OTM, they show up, they check on Miss Parker. She says she's not doing good and walks away. And then the two of them, they begin to yap about, what went on in AAA and everything else. And they said they're doing this for Perez de Ma. And then they dap it up again, and that was it. So I don't know what any of this means, really. It sucks what the fuck they're doing with Jada Parker. It's so damn dumb. Like, I don't know why they're getting her. Why they're trying to humble her. I guess because WWE's figured out that, she's with Jey Uso. It doesn't matter. They're adults. It has... I don't know, man. I don't know. Moving on, this leads us into the main event of the evening. Shawn Legacy and Dorian Von Dukes defeated the Culling, Shawn Spears and Nico. Vance. Post-match, Nico Vance turned babyface. He attacked Shawn Spears, clotheslined him, and chokeslammed him through the announce table, which was great. So the Culling is no more. I love this. This is excellent. Shawn Spears is a clown. He sucks. He fucking sucks. So there's that. Moving on from that, this leads us into the closing segment of the evening. So Robert Stone comes out. Same thing with Naraku. Naraku says, if you don't have any challengers to face him, just hand him the championship. So Mason Rook comes out. He states his case. Same thing with Jackson Drake. And then Jackson Drake and Mason Rook, they brawl. So Naraku says there's still no one to challenge him, hand over the title. Robert Stone says it was never Mason or Jackson. It was always him, referring to Tony D'Angelo. Tony D'Angelo shows up with a nasty eye bandage over his, I think, left eye. And then he has a brawl with Naraku, and then that was it. So, there's that. All right, I like this. This is fine. Good stuff here. Okay, good. This was okay. This is an okay episode of NXT. The women did very well here. I didn't like the fact that there was 2 contract signings on the show, but it is what it is. It didn't really need to happen. All right, let's go ahead and get into the predictions for the Great American Bash. It's going to take place in the Performance Center, which is fine, and they're going to be on the CW, which is great. So that's excellent. We have 7 matches on the show, which is great. So this should be probably about probably a good 2.5 hour event, maybe 3 hours, probably 2.5, but closer to 3. So we have 7 matches. So let's start with Dion Lennox versus Saquon Sugars. I'm going to say that Dion should win this, more than likely, but I doubt he will. So I'm going to go with Saquon Sugars winning. And hopefully this feud won't last too long. We should be able to get through this feud within like a month or 2. So I'm going to go with Saquon Sugars winning their first encounter, basically. Moving on from that, Shiloh Hill versus Tristan Angels. I'm going to say Shiloh Hill wins. So, there's that. That'll be another mini feud. Hopefully that shit won't last long either. Moving on, Miles Bourne versus Tavion Heights for the NXT North American Championship. Tavion Heights needs to win this. I feel like the Miles Bourne experiment has ran its course, in my opinion. Again, I'm a fan of Miles Bourne, but how is he going to translate on the main roster? That's the main thing. And I would really love Tavion to actually win some gold. I think he would be great as North American champion. I really think that that suits him, if we're being honest. So there's that. Moving on from that, Ren Sinclair versus Ariana Grace, Women's Speed Championship. Ariana Grace is going to win this hands down, so there's that. Because I do think that Kendal Grey is more likely... I do think that Ren Sinclair is going to more likely turn on Kendal Grey at some point. Moving on, Zaria versus Tatum Paxley. This is another match I'm looking forward to for the NXT Women's North American Championship. Zaria is going to retain, hands down, and I do expect for Tatum Paxley to get her main roster call-up. There's nothing more she can do in NXT at this point, so her main roster call-up should be imminent after she loses at the Bash. Moving on from that, Lola Vice versus Kendal Grey. This should be one of the matches of the night for the NXT Women's Championship. Lola Vice is going to retain. Why would she lose? I could see Kendal Grey turning heel after this match, though. I really could see that happen. And then the main event of the evening, Tony D'Angelo versus Naraku for the NXT Championship. I think that we are going to see a couple of new guys show up from Japan to cost Tony D'Angelo the title. I think Tony D'Angelo would be better in the chase position. I think that makes the most sense. So there's that. I think they're going to end up probably putting the title on Naraku. I know Tony D'Angelo just won it like 2 months ago, basically, but it is what it is, So there's that. So we're going to go over the predictions again. Shiloh Hill's going to win his match. Zaria is going to retain the NXT the NXT Women's North American Championship. Taquan Sugar is going to defeat Dion Lennox. Ariana Grace is going to become the new Women's Speed Champion. Tavion Heights is going to become the new North American Champion. Lola Vice is going to retain the NXT Women's Championship. And Tony D'Angelo is going to lose to Naraku for the NXT Championship. So, there's that. All in all, the Great American Bash should be a good event. It's a lot of pay-per-views going on Sunday. There's 3. You got Slammiversary from TNA. You got Forbidden Door for AEW. And you've got Great American Bash for NXT. It's a little bit too much. I don't know if I'm going to do Forbidden Door, but I'll talk more about that during my Dynamite review. So, there's that. But all in all, the show was okay, and I'm kind of excited for the Great American Bash. So let me know what you guys thought of this show, and what are your predictions for the Great American Bash. Let me know. Like, comment, subscribe.